2023. And we will get our meeting started for the Westcott Board of Education. Mr. Sloan, if you would call the roll, please.
Mrs. Miller is absent. Mr. Cox?
Here.
Ms. Harvey?
Here.
Mr. Llewellyn?
Here.
Mr. Mundy?
Here.
All right, if everyone would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
John, I don't look back, I guess I should. All right, we will do some brief introductions and we'll get our meeting started. We'll start with the table here. To my far right, our treasurer, Mr. Ryan Sloan. And immediately to his left is our student rep who's here with us tonight, Maddie McHugh. We have Autumn Harvey here, and as Ryan mentioned, Autumn's our board member, and Leslie would be sitting here. She is in Florida still. Almost done though. She's coming back for the next meeting, so she'll be back with us in 2 weeks. My name is John Llewellyn, and we're president for the 22-23 school year. To my left is our superintendent, Dr. Andrea Townend. To her left is Joe Cox, board member for the last 5 months. Unfortunately, he's going to leave us, and I regret that, but hey, that's how it works, and we appreciate it. 6 years of service, right?
6 years.
Yep, 6 years. We certainly appreciate all of them. And then to his immediate left is Nate Bundy, on the board now for his second year. We keep going around the room to the left. We have Devin Berry, our Human Resources Director. To his left, we have Julie Jones, our Curriculum Coordinator. And at the end of our table, all with microphones in front of them, Mr. Jack Haig, our Business Manager. 20 years, 21? I know you haven't been Business Manager for 20 years, but are you?
27.
27 years with us, so he's got us all beat, I think.
Hey, John.
Yes. Pull it closer?
Pull it closer.
A little bit.
A little
A little bit? Okay. Is that better? All right. All right, so we will proceed with the next item on our agenda, following the pledge and introduction, which is item 5, and it's recommended that we go ahead and approve our agenda for this meeting. I don't think we have an addendum, do we? Nope. So I will ask for a motion and a second to accept our agenda for tonight's meeting.
So moved. Second.
All right, Mr. Sloan, call the roll, please.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Llewellyn?
Yes.
Mr. Mundy?
Yes.
All right, item 6 is comments from the public. Fortunately, we don't really have any general public members here with us, so we will skip item 6. Item 7 is our communication update, and Ms. Corbett.
Good evening, everyone. I wanted to remind everyone again, the Facebook page is West Carrollton City Schools. You can go to our website, westcarrolltonschools.com, Twitter at WC City Schools. Those are all ways you can find out information about what's going on in the school district. Remind everyone again, National Night Out is August 1st, and we are very excited to do this. This is in Moraine at, I believe it's Wax Park. It's where the rec center is. This is always a fun event. We had a great time last year. We'll have giveaways for the kids. Lots of fun things planned, so please try and come out and join us. The first day of school, we keep saying, is August 16th, and that is technically the first day of school, but there are a few staggered starts, so I wanted to go over those very quickly. First, kindergarten screening will be August 16th and 17th. The first day for kindergarten students with the last name beginning A through L, that will be August 18th. Kindergarten students with the last name M through Z begin August 21st, and then all of the students will come August 22nd. First grade students with the last name beginning A through L, those students will begin August 16th. Students with the last name beginning N through Z begin August 17th, and all first grade students come to school August 18th. 7th grade students only come to the middle school on August 16th, and then all the middle school students will be there on August 17th. Freshman students only begin August 16th, and all high school students attend August 17th. You'll be looking forward to some communication that's going to be coming from your child's school as we get closer to those start dates. We do stagger those dates so that, especially the little ones, they get a bit of an orientation to the school, to the classroom, to the teacher, prior to everybody being together in the classroom. It's the same thing really for the older grades. They do get an opportunity to go through the building, meet their teachers, know a little bit about the layout before they officially begin. So if you are new to the school district, or if you have a child you have not yet enrolled in kindergarten, please go to westcarrolltonschools.com. We'll be doing enrollment. It's better to do it now prior to waiting. We always have a office full of people at the last minute, and to make sure your child starts school on the right day, please come in and enroll now. Also too, it's also important when you enroll, that gives us information for our bus routes. It also gives us information for class lists. I know those are two questions we get about this time of year. Where will my child's bus be? Who's going to be my child's teacher? Well, we don't know yet because people are still enrolling, and that information will become available after the 1st of August. I can't guarantee a date, but it will happen. And I also put some other dates, August dates, up on our Facebook page and web page today that includes open house dates. So that is all I had for this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Corbett. Item 8 is our single presentation for tonight. That's Mr. White, our new principal at the high school. Come on next.
All right, good evening. My one disclaimer is I go through this. I have some long COVID conditions. One of them is ears ringing, and today is a very bad day. So if I ask you to repeat, please understand I'm most likely going to be reading your lips. So if I turn and do all this, that's what's going on. First of all, I just would like to tell you I've met quite a few staff members. I've sent out a lot of communications that has generated a lot of energy in the building. We've had some really good discussions as we've gone through this. One of the things that I want to do tonight is to explain to you guys where we're at this moment at the high school. What is the state of the union, so to speak? Now, Kathy, I'm pushing which button? There's 4.
The one on the right, that arrow button.
All right.
There you go.
All right. So looking at this, the grade distribution for the last school year looks like this. One of the things I always do as a principal is I want to see where we're at in terms of achievement. So how many A's, B's, C's, D's, and F's were earned throughout the year. Part of that chart that you see there is with the way our system is set up, we have pluses and minuses. So looking at how we structure our grading in terms of what percentages are set in place for each class, we adjusted that this year to where 45% of their grades are going to be bellwork, classwork, homework that they can earn on a daily basis. These grades are a reflection of where 70% was assessment grades, 30% was like practice or different assignments that the teachers did. So looking at that, I know that looks rough, but believe it or not, we can make that work. I've seen a lot worse. So that's where we're at in terms of grades. So once again, I've shared this with the parents, I've shared this with the staff already. And just on a side note, before I get too deep into this, I have 10 parent meetings set up starting Monday. So I have different groups of kids coming in at different times with their parents to go over all of this with them and what the plan's going to be. That way, I've sent it home, we've communicated it, no one can say they didn't know. When we look at student performance in terms of GPA amounts, 4.0 and higher, the current 10th grade, 11th and 12th grade, as you can see on the chart, we have roughly right around 38 kids that have a 4.0 or higher. 3.0 to 3.9, you're sitting right around about 138 kids for that column. 2.0 to 2.9, as you can see, is about 190 kids. And then below a 2.0 is 347. So these are cumulative GPAs. And what this allows you to start looking at is to say, wait a minute, our goal in the high school is all of our kids need to be career and college ready. We don't need to, they get to choose which way they want to go, but in order to go the college route, you have to have that GPA to get in, which you'll see. So you always want to look at this each quarter, like with the honor roll. And one of the things I always like to do, and I've been begging Doc for some money, and I emailed Ryan, I love doing like the honor roll shirts because we want to recognize that level of achievement. So that's where we're starting. On terms of referrals, what has happening in the classroom? I sent a letter home to the staff. Most of them got it. We had roughly 2,970 classroom referrals. And those referrals were based off of what went on in the classroom. So breaking it down in the system, we can look at, for instance, targeted school and targeted class. There was over 4,000 targeted schools last year, 615 targeted class, and I'm pretty sure they just stopped counting from what they're telling me. Profanity in class was 126, verbal abuse of peers. You can read that list. One of the things I want you to recognize is these types of disruptions happen in the classroom. That's when learning has to stop. So if learning stopped because we have these things going on, or as you can see, the cell phone is over 1754, you've now stopped teaching because you have to deal with the phone. So lost minutes of instruction equate to a lot of lost achievement. So all those grades and everything you see, all of this works together. So as I've broken this data down and looked at it, I have to start figuring out, okay, how are we going to fix this? So let me go to the next one. So the first thing is I have to show the parents and the students and the staff this slide. When you look at West Carrollton in a 50, 60 mile radius, we have the University of Dayton, we have Wright State, we have Miami. We only have about 100 students right now in grades 10 through 12 that could qualify on an application for UD. We have about 138 out of that entire group, 10 through 12, that could apply to Wright State and get a good chance of getting that. And 40 students, 10 through 12, that could get into Miami. So that's not a large number. That helps us, though, set goals. Like every time I do this, when I come to a new building and break this down, everybody gets nervous. Because, you know, it's kind of all the warts come out and you have to deal with it. But as the leader of the building, the instructional leader, you can't hide. You have to put it out there. You have to say, look, this is where we're at, here's where we're going, and this is how we're going to get there. Because if you don't do this, then all the measures get hidden. And you don't want that. You want transparency as much as possible so everybody works towards the goals together. I know this is hard to read, so I'm going to cut this down pretty quick. You know this is hard not moving around, just so you know. It's killing me. Being career ready. Part of what I have to do as the principal is to set the tone in the building. That's the first thing. You get the culture and the climate lined up. The second thing, you start looking at what standards are we teaching, what ones are they mastering, how is the achievement coming. The third piece is to establish the routines that build those soft skills, so to speak, that they're going to need in their career. So part of that career ready is just because you have bad grades doesn't mean you can't go to college. Or just because your grades aren't that good doesn't mean college isn't for you. And vice versa. Just because you have all A's and have a 4.0 doesn't mean you have to go to college. You can go into a trade. You know, part of my lineage growing up is I was the first person in my family to have a 4-year degree. And then on top of it, I built houses for 9 years. So I was constantly around the trades as it went on, but I had to think through putting a wall together, putting a header together. I was a framer. You know, how to lay out the chalk lines and all those things. So you still have to be academically prepared when you walk out the door, whether you're going to college or not. And highly skilled in cognitive problem solving. I don't know how many times concrete was off, and we had to adjust things. You had to cut things a different way. The basement wasn't level. You had to put a wall up. You had to think through that stuff. So as you look at this list, it applies to everybody in the building. And what we want to do is make sure number 4 happens the most. And those are my big, I call them my 5 B's, and we threw in a 6th, but being prepared. Really focusing the kids every day, being organized and ready for class. Being on time. They're going to feel that one immediately. And it's not a punitive thing, but if you stop and think about being on time, most of us in this room, minus probably 2 if I'm looking at the ages right, we grew up where you go to the job and you have to be there at a certain time. Like for me, growing up as a teenager in my early years, I had to be on the job site before 7:30. You know, you're rolling out the cords and all the equipment at 7:30. You roll up at 4:30. But every day, that was the structured time. Anymore, being on time and the new age of kids, being adults like my 25-year-old, they have to be on time to Google Meet. They have to be on time with the deadline for their collaborative platform. They're not going into a job every day. So we still have to teach being on time. It's just creating the routine of just constantly being where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. Being respectful and mindful. Going back to that discipline stuff. If you're blowing up the classroom, you're stopping instruction, and I can't have that. So being mindful of where you're at, being respectful of everybody, and being responsible. Own your work, own all the things. And you'll see those slides, and I'll blow through them pretty quick. And then being consistent, being at school every day, being on time to class every day, getting into those routines that are very highly productive. And a lot of the pieces that will happen in the high school, I already know the Facebook will blow up and the phone calls will come, it's like jail, it's all this other stuff, but it's not. It's a structured day. And all of the routines that we're putting in is preparing them to be career and college ready. I have a 22-year-old that's finishing up college, and he has one class that the proctor will do the Google Meet, and he'll chime in, and he puts a timer on for 15 seconds. If you're not in that class online in that 15 seconds, he locks you out, and then you take a cut. So there's still a lot to being consistent, being responsible for your work, being where you're supposed to be, being congenial and collaborative, and really getting into the routines that we'll put in place. Because all of those things will improve achievement. All of those things will reduce those referrals. And if you look at this slide, I have it right here. This is what I was talking about. So my daughter she does not report to her office but once every 2 weeks. By the way, I am thankful for the money that you pay me. I don't want you to take this the wrong way. But my 25-year-old makes more than I do. And she's been out of college 2 years, and she doesn't report to a cubicle, she doesn't report to an office, she reports to her laptop. She doesn't go in at all. And then my nephew, he's out 3 or 4 days a week, like it says. He goes in just to reconnect with people and have conversations. He doesn't go to work. I'm like, what are you talking about? So this is a new way of the economy is turning our jobs not in that standard old way of an 8-hour day, punch in and punch out. So we have to prepare our students for this type of new way of making a living. And it really comes back to those 5 B's of being prepared, being on time, being respectful, being accountable, being consistent, and also being safe. So I think all of those things that we have in place are going to help our kids become career and college ready. So I know you guys get a copy of this, but honestly, I've struggled with the new way quite a bit. I mean, I still set a start time and stop time to my day. I'll do it with the staff. It's just, it's not the way the 20-year-olds are working anymore. And it's interesting. All right, creating focus. Implement daily routines and procedures. That's what I've been talking about. Implement organizational systems and structures that increase student engagement. Right now, we've had all these conversations. The last meeting went on about the cell phones. If you stop and think about engaging student minds in the classroom, one, there has to be motivation to do the work. We fixed that with the grading structure. 2, getting out and walking around during advisory at lunch, that's over. 3, the hallways are all going to be manned at least the first 10 minutes, last 10 minutes, and the middle 10 minutes of the day, bathroom checks, all of that. So we have people that will cover those things. So it's gonna create a different environment where there's a lot more focus in the classroom. And 3, set measurable building goals that focus on all the stakeholders on student achievement. And I'll show that as we get through this. But this is how we're gonna create a lot more focus on achievement. So for all of our students, those 4.0, the 3.0 to 3.9 students that are really doing what they're there to do, this will have a little effect on them unless they take too long to get to class. Besides that, it's set up. That where I have to get to work in is those 1.9 to get them to understand what they're facing in front of them and the different pathways we're going to have to take to get them career and college ready. So, all right, being prepared, I talked about that for a minute. Create and use the nightly checklist. One of the things that we have now are laptops. They have book bags. I've raised 5 kids. I've never once had one of them have a book bag that wasn't a disaster. And then you find food in it. So talking to them every day, do you have your stuff organized? Do you have what you need from your locker? The greatest thing about hall sweeps and running those every period, every day, is I can go down my hallway and stop every kid at their locker. Do you have everything you need? Get what you need. Do you have everything? Did you forget something? All right, stay with me and I'll get you to class. So everybody has that message going throughout the day, talking to the kids to make sure they have what they need before they enter that classroom. Being punctual, like I said, the hall sweeps will be the biggest thing. They'll fuss and carry on, but in every building it quiets down pretty quick and they get to class on time. And after a while, you don't even have to say anything. But they're aware that they're punctual. They're aware that time is an issue, that they have to be somewhere. And like I said, in the new economy jobs, it's not physically showing up and punching a clock. It's literally being online where you're supposed to be or being in a meeting where you're supposed to be and things like that. Respectful. One of the things, treat everyone the way you want to be treated. And I'll have a big one on this one. You know, I read a lot of the referrals and how the kids were cussing at the teachers about the cell phones. And the profanity was out of hand. So it's coming back and letting them know that's not going to be tolerated, because we can't go into our job and start fussing, cussing, and carrying on at our bosses and not think nothing's going to happen. But that's not preparing them to be career and college ready. And like my last one, never be the reason why another student cannot learn. Be mindful of where you're at. Responsible, you own your decisions, you own your attitude, you own your words. A lot of what I talked to Ms. Page about and Ms. Davis, my 2 APs, is look, our job is consequence first and then counsel. And then I told them, I said, I don't want you counseling, I want you coaching. Go back to these B's, go back to being these things when you have to discipline a student. It goes much better when they understand why you're putting your foot down. Okay? So that'll be a lot of what happens. And being safe, I always say this every year. Think before you hit send or share. I can't begin to tell you enough, and I know you guys have dealt with it here in this district. When they share something they shouldn't, it's 4, 6, 8 hours of drama. And then it's our fault because the kid had the phone in school. So I'm just saying, I'll go through all of this with the parents and the kids in these meetings. Inconsistent, develop that positive, productive daily routine. I can tell you right now, you know, from the days of building houses to the days of coaching to the days of, you know, being a teacher and being an administrator, you get into your routine. You know, I'm getting into it now. Summer's over. You got to get up earlier. You got to go through your workouts and all that stuff. I've avoided that like the plague, but you know, you got to get your routine back, and you got to teach kids that those routines are important. All right, measurable goals: 20% growth in all measures by June of 2027. I've looked at all of the data, and my message to everyone, including all of you, is we're going to look at 5% a year. Can we get 5% growth in our passing rates on our end of course exams? Can we get 5% of our kids to move from a 1.9 to a 2.0 to 2.9 column? Can we get 5% of those kids to move from 2.0 to 2.9 to 3.0 to 3.9? can we, over the next 4 years, push our achievement levels up to kind of reverse, as you can see with the slide, the GPAs? Because if we can pull that off in 4 years, probably right around 80%, I did the math and I didn't write it down, 80% probably of our seniors will graduate where they could go anywhere they want to school. And if they don't want to go to school and they want to go to the military, they'll score well on the ASVAB. If they don't want to do the military and they want to go into their career, they'll have little to no trouble picking that up. And my example on the trades was Monday, my power steering went out in my truck. So I'm sitting in Lowe's parking lot, and I'm calling Smedley Chevrolet, and I swear this kid couldn't have been 12. Like, you can just hear that young voice. And so he walked me through the diagnostic process while I'm sitting in the truck. Now understand, this was a jump for me tonight using this thing. So I literally had him repeat 3 or 4 times, but even a mechanic is not starting out with a wrench anymore. They're starting out with a laptop and a diagnostic system. So that jump, if we can get ourselves to that point, our graduates are now in contention and competition in the new age jobs as well as in getting into school. So that's our goal in 4 years. If you look at the cumulatives, what does that equate to? That in 2027, we want around 300 honor roll students between 3.0 and 4.0 plus. We want 251 in that 2.0 to 2.9 and get that 282, if not lower. I think we can get it a lot lower than that, but I'm going to promise less and produce more. But I think we can get that turned around to that point. And one of the things that I will make sure of as we go through our teacher-based team meetings, our department meetings, our grade level meetings, I'm going to watch for grade inflation, where we're not just giving the grade because they tried. I want to evaluate that they know those standards, they know what they're doing. And a lot of that you'll see if we teach the standards the right way, that equates to higher ACT scores because those standards align. So we'll be able to look at that. If you want to look at reducing tardies to school, by 2027 we'll be down to 3,306. Many conversations already with parents about daycare issues where the kid can't come right away. I've already talked with the counselors to say, let's not give them English first period if they can't get to school on time. But let us know what that is. I met with a small group of teachers today about our ESL students who have a lot of different commitments outside of school. And how are we going to meet with those parents? We're going to do it the 31st. And just pulling them in and start giving them an avenue to call when there's an issue. If they got to have the students not in because the family's out working, it's harvest time, whatever it may be, let's not throw them under the bus because that's their life. Let's work with them. So I think that number will drop quite a bit too. You can see all those measures and how they'll drop over the next 4 years. Like I said, if I do what I do, we'll beat that pretty quick. So this is one additional thing. I wanted to cover this because you guys had that deep conversation last week about cell phones. I didn't say a word, I just listened. One of the things that I learned from my father, he was a sales manager, and he did this assessment right here. So when I started the Fast Forward Center with Mr. Carter and Mr. Brown back in 2000, what we did is we brought in high school dropouts. So across Montgomery County, I think the first year we had 1,800 of them come in, and we got them back in school. Started at Mount Street Academies. So this assessment, we gave every single student that came in to measure their assertiveness, their sociability, their calmness, and conformity. The scale is 1 to 9, 1 being the lowest, 9 being the highest. So one of the things that I did after those 1,800 came through is if you guys can't tell, I do a lot of that. So I broke down. Is that you?
It is, I apologize.
Give me the phone. Let's go.
It just started up.
Right, where's the bag? But with this measure, I need everyone to understand this. That average right there on the scores was out of the 1,800 students who were between 14 and 19 years old. So I want you to stop and think about assertiveness. It's so low They're not going to do anything on their own. So when we went through COVID, we asked every student in this country for 13 months to be highly assertive on their own, knowing behavior-wise they were at the other end. So very little work got done. 9 being sociability, they love to talk, they love to interact, they love to be around. So what did we do for 13 months? We locked them in their houses because we were in the middle of a pandemic. Their only way to be sociable was this. So this was their lifeline to other people. And then on columnist, that's a Dave White move right there. It's a 1. They have to be up and moving. They have to be doing things. When I share this with the staff, I try to explain to them, this mic is killing me. I try to explain to them, look, if you're going to talk for 45 minutes, good luck. I can't save it. You've got to get them interacting in the classroom. They got to get their hands busy. But you have to teach them how to communicate, collaborate again, because they lost it during the 13 months. So the calmness is always going to be low. And then finally, conformities is a 9. It's very high. They like structure. They like rules. They're never going to tell you that to your face. Not one of my 5 was happy when I laid the law down. But I'm the adult and they're the kid. They do what I tell them to do. That's how it works. So when you see this, if we're expecting our students to actively be proactive and keep their phones away, to keep them in their lockers, to keep them in their book bags, to keep them where they're supposed to be, and they're 9 on sociability, and it's right here, it's a huge struggle because it goes against where they're at in terms of their behavior. The other thing I want you to notice with this, and I'm telling you, this is so true, it scares me. When we look at our kids and say, where do you want to go to school? What do you want to do with your life? Hey, you're out of time. What is it? They're not going to know. It's a 1. We've got to help them develop these behaviors. We have to help them through those routines and through all the things that we're going to do outside of the instruction if we want them to be career and college ready. So sometimes the decisions that we have to make as the leaders, we have to do it because we know they can't do it. So I just wanted to share that with you because if you look, and please understand when I say this, it's the last 28 years of all the different principals I've talked to. You have administrators that go, hey, can you go to class? And then they walk away. You got a 1. And then you're a 9 on sociability. And wait, there's no consequence because I didn't go? What are you about to do? You're about to walk the halls, you're about to hang out in the lunchroom, you're about to do all these different things. So when we come into this school year, a lot of this year is to start focusing on changing those behaviors to where we need them, and then meeting those goals that I started setting. And I have a whole other plan for how we're going to do it, but I didn't want to do that tonight because we've been here for another hour. But there's a plan that will go into place with the staff, with the parents and the students to see all of this. But I'm telling you right now, out of all my stops, these children are amazing. I mean, amazing. The ones that I've met, the ones that are amazing. And I'm like, okay, we got a lot of good pieces. And they're all of our kids, not just the good ones, all of them. So we may have to spend some time on the Dave Whites of the world to get them where they need to be, but we're going to. I know you're laughing, but you know it's true. So but this sets all of that up. And yeah, it's going to be hard when they all have to report to the lunchroom. But thanks to Jack, we have new tables and chairs coming. It goes back to being a lunchroom where they can sit and talk to their friends. Look, that made your day, didn't it? Is it Maddie or Madeline? Maddie? I love Maddie. Maddie was like, hallelujah, right there.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, but you know what? These are the little things that if that was in place, you wouldn't have everybody running around during the lunch hour because you want to go in there. And like I told the teachers that I met with, go in and eat with them. Don't pull them out to eat in your room. Go in there. Put a couple tables together and chop it up for 30 minutes. The kids will love it. So all of those things will come into play. And I just wanted you guys to see this because I understand the yonder bag issue. I really do. I will tell you, you know, I think my last slide is, that was it. I have a slide for the parents that said, look, I'm the adult. I'm gonna do what's best for you whether you like it or not. You can fuss, cuss, and carry on. I don't care. But I'm doing what's best for you because I want you to be successful down the road. I don't need to, you know, I can't remember the last time my 14-year-old or my 18-year-old or even my 25-year-old told me what to do. I've lived this, I know what I'm doing. So when it comes time to make this decision, think about the grander picture and how this layered approach could really turn a lot of things around the way we want it and change those numbers. And here's my thing with the yonder bag. I'm gonna climb this mountain. If I gotta climb it with rope and a pitchfork or a pitch tool, whatever that thing, hammer, I'll do that. You put the yonder bags in place, we're on the gondola. It's a lot easier. It's how you wanna do it. So, that's where we're at. Any questions? Shocking. I knew you would.
So, I don't even know, does that even matter at that point? So, my question would be, parent involvement
Yeah.
is something when I grew up was really important in
Yeah.
my elementary school especially, but as you grow older, it was a really big thing. But I think it's pretty apparent that parent involvement's not really big here. It's not a really big thing. So, in your other schools that you've been with, or even just by talking with some of the parents now, do you think that there's going to be an increase in parent involvement?
Yes, because there'll be a lot more phone calls coming and a lot more accountability coming and a lot more, if you look at the OTES and the OPES standards, there's a lot of parent communication and teamwork pieces they have to do.
Yeah.
So it'll happen naturally. And I can tell you this, you know, I'll do meet the principal night, like I said, I've got 10 of them lined up. The message is gonna be pretty much the same until we get down to where their GPAs are at, and I've gotta, you know, have that hard conversation. But parents, like I said, I've been a parent a long time, and it's the hardest job. I mean, I remember I co-parented with 3 other people with 3 kids with my late wife. And I was the one that took all of them to colleges and explained the process. I was the one that, I still remember trying to do the FAFSA form with the other parents. And I had to sit them down and walk them through it. And I know it because I live it. So a lot of the things that we have to do with the parents is bring them in and say, look, this is what we're doing and why we're doing it. We want your child to be successful. And then, you know, there'll be a large group that doesn't show. They'll be the ones blowing up Doc's phone and calling you guys and posting stuff. I don't care. I don't. But I'm gonna do what's best for the kid. And once they see that, you start getting more and more. You know, and those events will pick up.
Yeah.
I'll be tired after the 10, but then we'll keep doing it.
Oh, good. That's good to hear. Thank you.
Yes, Maddie, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
My question was, what was the change in the grade from 70 to 30? What was the new percentage?
You do, your 45% of your grade will be like Bellware classwork homework.
Okay.
It's the work that you're doing on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
Like I put in the letter, we go to work and we get paid for the day.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't just get paid the days we took a test or finished the project. We got paid along the way. So that way you guys can now focus in on your goal of improving your homework grade or the goal of improving your classwork grade. The other 45% will be your assessments. And then there'll be a quarterly exam because I need to know what standards you've mastered. We need to know we're teaching the right things the right way.
And that will only be like,
I'm sorry,
that last 5% will be
the last 10.
10, sorry, yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
And then like when you have your semester exam, it'll be 10% of your semester grade.
Okay. And then I have one more question. How do we, like, sign up for these parent meetings? Like, is there like a sign up?
You'll get an invitation in the mail. The 4.0 kids letter went out. You should be getting that today or tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Sir?
Are you changing the policy or tweaking the policy that has to do with kids being exempt from exams?
No, I'm not. I think one of the things that will change with that is there'll be a lot more intensity on those that are exempt. It's not just the certain criteria as much as, wait a minute, I got my 89%, I'm exempt, but I want that A, because that's a goal I've set. So I didn't want to take that out. And a lot of what I've had to explain even with the counselors is a lot of the nets that have been put into place to get kids to graduation. We're going to leave a lot of that stuff in place for those juniors and seniors, but we won't need them with the freshmen and sophomores we got. So a lot of those policies will stay in place. The idea is to utilize them less and less as we go. Go ahead.
One more thing.
You're fine.
I just absolutely love the idea of recognizing achievement.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not a give an award to everybody type guy. And I mean, I've really noticed that the people that want to achieve, when they see that people see that,
Yeah.
it further does that. So I second on the t-shirt idea.
Yeah, I wore one of my honor roll shirts from, actually it was from Ponus to down to my mother's house to see her, and she said, "Who'd you buy that from? Because you never made the honor roll." I'm like, "No." So yeah, but honestly, that picks up steam itself, and it's always been a line item in my budget. It's always been a thing because that's a lot of pride and accomplishment, and achievement builds that confidence. You know, a lot of what I'll be speaking to the football team about on the 31st is you belong in that field. You worked as hard as everybody else. The only difference is do you believe? And that's a lot of times when I come into places, I've got to take that 1.9 group and get them to believe. So there's a lot of what I'm doing now with them. But that's why I'm in the hallways. That's why, and I have to explain to parents, I don't return phone calls till after the day's over. Because I'm out. I'm burning up my shoes, I'm in classrooms, I'm in bathrooms, the lunchroom, and everyone who works for me will be doing that too. But that's how you build those relationships and you get that buy-in.
Great. Thank you.
Good? All right.
Great.
Thank you, Mr. Dwight.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're in trouble.
Waiting for my laptop, my tablet.
You're in so much trouble.
All right, item 9.
Thank you.
Dr. Townsend, some policies.
Thank you. This is the second reading for these policies. So we have policy 0164, which is our records committee meeting, which we actually met today before the board meeting. And it's just to make sure that we advertise it, which we do, and we have. And then policy 41, 2014 adds Juneteenth to the confidential staff as a recognized holiday. And then just rescinding the two policies, 31-2009 and 41-2009. They were rescinded and moved into the 8200s, and that's for volunteers.
How does Juneteenth work when most of them are out of school in the first place? They just get an extra?
The confidential staff's 12 months, so
Okay,
it's for those of us that are here year round.
gotcha. Well, that makes sense.
And then these will be up for a vote later.
Gotcha. All right, item 10, the treasurer, Mr. Sloan. Don't have to pass you the mic anymore. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. I ask that the board approve items 10A and 10B as presented.
All right, just need a motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any conversation?
On the financial reports, the cover sheet so these are the reports through June 30, so we closed out our year. And as indicated on the cover sheet, we ended the year in better position than what we had compared to the 5-year forecast that we did at the end of May. So that was, I mean, we ended the year on a good note, and so now we're into July, obviously, in the 23-24 school year, so things are in good shape.
All right, anybody have any questions before we vote? All right, call the roll, please.
Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Llewellyn?
Yes.
Mr. Mundy?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
All right, item 11, Mr. Barry.
Good evening.
Good evening. I thought you don't have to get it.
Ooh.
Like, oh, this is cool.
The superintendent recommends that the board approve the listed personnel items 11A through 11K.
All right, I need a motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second. Any comments, sir?
There is one odd situation that may draw some attention. We have an alternative licensure situation where obviously there's a teacher shortage in the state and in the nation. So over the past 2 decades, there's been a lot of alternative licenses. So we have 2, and there's criteria that we have to meet, or the teacher has to meet to attain their professional license. For the first time, we don't do a lot, but for the first time we had 2 people not complete what they needed to complete and felt that they would get an extension from ODE. The extensions were not awarded, so those teachers had to resign, and then we will rehire them as long-term substitutes until they complete what they needed or what they need to complete, and then we can hire them as full-time teachers again. Does that make sense?
Did I see that? Did that
Okay.
cost them money?
It did.
Okay,
It
that's
did.
what I would assume.
Yeah.
Okay. But they're staying employed with us as long-term subs, and this is interesting to me because my daughter's about to be a music ed. Well, she is a music ed major. She's about to be a teacher, and some of this stuff, it's in Tennessee, which has a little bit of different rules perhaps, but this interests me a lot because I actually understood what you just said, which is not always true. But I see your point, and hopefully they'll be able, and I take it that once they've met the requirements, they'll go back to, we'll be asked again to approve a contract with different wages on it, and et cetera.
That is correct. They're both outstanding teachers. We need them, and they're doing a really good job. The requirements, they fell behind and didn't do what they needed to do.
Gotcha. Anybody else have any questions? Mr. Sloan, call the roll, please.
Mr. Llewellyn,
Yes.
Mr. Mundy,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Ms. Harvey.
Yes.
All right, item 12, Mr. Barry again.
Superintendent recommends that the board approve the listed personnel in items 12A through 12B.
Need a motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second?
All right, any comments there?
Just trying to make sure that we have all of our coaches in place for the fall.
All right. Mr. Sloan, call the roll, please.
Mr. Mundy,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Ms. Harvey,
Yes.
Mr. Llewellyn.
Yes. All right, so we don't have Melissa with us for item 13, so defer to you.
Yes.
All right.
I'd like to recommend that the board approve the 2023-2024 agreement with the Greene County Educational Service Center as presented.
All right, need a motion and a second, please.
Second.
This is pretty standard.
This is standard.
Yep. All right. Mr. Sloan, call the roll, please, sir.
Mr. Mundy,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Ms. Harvey,
Yes.
Mr. Llewellyn.
Yes. All right, item 14,
I need
back
a,
to you.
yep, I need a motion and a second that the board approve as presented the following resolution, and it's adopting a calamity day alternative makeup plan. Those are those 3 calamity days. It is the last year for us to be able to approve that, so.
Was it last year? Okay. All right, motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second?
All right, any other comments about it?
No.
Done this a
Pretty
few
standard
times,
for
yeah.
a long time, yeah.
All right, Mr. Sloan?
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Ms. Harvey,
Yes.
Mr. Llewellyn,
Yes.
Mr. Mundy.
Yes.
Just keep rolling, item 15.
I need a motion and a second that the board adopt as presented the amended policies of the West Carrollton Board of Education, policy 0164 and 412014.
All right, motion and a second, please.
I motion.
Second?
All right, we just discussed this, so anybody have any questions? If not, let's go ahead and have Mr. Sloan call the roll again.
Ms. Harvey,
Yes.
Mr. Llewellyn,
Yes.
Mr. Mundy,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
All right, item 16.
Okay, I need a motion and a second that the board adopt as presented the rescinded policies of the West Carrollton Board of Education, policy number 312009 and 412009.
All right, motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second?
All right, go ahead and have the roll call again.
Mr. Llewellyn,
Yes.
Mr. Mundy,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Ms. Harvey.
Yes.
Item 17.
Very excited about these. So I need a motion and a second that the West Carrollton Board of Education approve, as presented, the memorandum of understanding between the City of Marine and the Board of Education of West Carrollton School District regarding the School Resource Officer Program, or SRO at the intermediate school.
Yeah, this one's good. Motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Slum?
Mr. Mundy,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Ms. Harvey,
Yes.
Mr. Llewellyn.
Yes, absolutely yes. Number 18, Ms. Townsend, Dr. Townsend.
So I need a motion and a second that the West Carrollton Board of Education approve, as presented, the memorandum of understanding between the City of West Carrollton and the Board of Education of the West Carrollton School District regarding the School Resource Officer Program.
Okay, motion and a second, please.
So moved. Second.
All right, Mr. Slum, call the roll, please.
Mr. Mundy,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Ms. Harvey,
Yes.
Mr. Llewellyn.
Yes. All right, I think you're done for the moment.
I am.
All right, we'll
Thank you.
move on to our student rep report. We do have Maddie with us, so any comments you want to make tonight? Just remember to turn your mic on.
Okay, there we go. I first off want to say thank you for the tables and chairs. You guys really don't understand how much that means to everyone, and I'm very excited about that. And then I also, as we get closer to the school year, I just want to encourage students and families to get involved in sports, clubs, like encourage your students this year. And then with the care closet that me and Nate Mundy are working on, I have a list of items that I think are big items that we would probably want to have in that closet, and so I will be sharing that with him shortly so that we can hopefully reach out and get those. That's it.
Do you have a location for the closet yet?
No, that's the hard part.
That is hard to do.
Yeah.
Any ideas?
We'll
There has to be
figure
somewhere.
it out.
I know, to be determined, all right.
Yeah, we
You
can
might
find,
know
we'll
a
find
place
a
to do
place.
that. Someone has to know somewhere.
On the note of student board reps, I haven't forwarded this yet, but in the past week, I've received 2 emails from a group that I didn't know existed, and perhaps they haven't existed for long, I don't know, but it's a national student board membership association. So basically, it's recognizing student reps around the country. And so the email I got was inviting any student rep that we have to take part in a virtual conference with kids all over the country to talk about what it's like to be in a leadership position on a board in the future perhaps, or a lot of the other things that you would just learn about the governance of the school district. So it's about a $200 monthly membership fee to be part of this. So I'm probably going to bring this up because I think it would be just another tool to help Maddie and the student reps that come after her. But I didn't know it existed, so I received an email in the past couple of days, 2 of them actually, 2 different individuals just inviting us to an event. I think it's in mid-August. That's virtual, so it's just a Google Meet, or I don't know what platform they use, but it's a virtual meeting basically with kids all over the country. So I think that'd be interesting. All right, so we'll move on to comments from our superintendent.
Just to reiterate what Janine said, National Night Out is 2 weeks away. We received our notification today from Deputy Chief. There's a lot of fun activities. It is a carnival theme and everything is free. So we're looking forward to that. And for the school board, convocation is Monday, August 14th, 7:30 is breakfast, and at 8 o'clock we will start the program. So we're looking forward to it. Also just a few weeks away. I can't believe it. So that's all I have this evening. Thank you.
When you're the president of the board, this is one of those things that makes you shake a little bit, because I actually have to speak in front of all the staff that morning. Joe had to do that last year, so.
Wasn't so bad.
They don't play.
So, looking forward to that, but I did skip committee reports. Are there any committee reports? I'm assuming it's kind of slow.
With this thing, you want to talk about the records meeting,
Talk
the
about
best
your
meeting in the
2-minute
world?
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, we had our meeting today and it was quick and straight to the point, smooth sailing, so that's that.
That's how I remember it.
It's the best meeting,
Right.
best group to be on.
All right, Mr. Sloan, any comments, sir? Brought us some paperwork here.
Yeah, first I just wanted to commend Mr. White for his presentation and the information, and hope he and his staff and students and parents have a great school year. So like the high school will be a exciting place to be this coming year, and then Mr. Hagg's going to authorize a bunch of dirt to be moved as we start breaking ground on a new building in the fall. So high school will be a busy place, but just very, very cool to see the enthusiasm that you're generating. Hope you have a great year. And then I gave you a handout of the districts in the county, and it's just kind of a summary of where the state budget ended up. It's in order on the far right. It's like the total percentage increase that all the districts received. When we did the forecast in mid-May, the Ohio Senate had not released their version of the budget, so when I did the forecast, hopefully, as you remember, the state funding numbers that I used for next year is, well, not next year, but right now, we're in FY24. The 23-24 school year is FY24, and then next year is FY25. When I did the forecast, the state funding numbers that I used were basically the average of the governor's budget that he released, and then the numbers that the House released, kind of the midpoint of those two. And but then at the end of June, when the state legislature finalized the budget, they basically end up using the House's numbers. So the numbers that we're looking at for this year and in FY25 are higher than what I had in my forecast, so that's a good thing. And that's kind of detailed in the bottom two lines of this of the information. So the 22.8 million for this current year is about 700,000 higher than the numbers that I was using in the forecast, and then the 23.5 million is about $1 million higher than the numbers I was using in the forecast. So that is good news, and so that just means when we update the forecast in November, the forecast will be better than the forecast that we approved in May. So that is a good thing. State funding for us is almost 50%. We're pretty close to 50-50 in terms of tax revenue and state funding. So I mean, we are, state funding obviously is a big deal to us. Whereas like for a Centerville or a Vandalia, I mean, they're more reliant on their tax revenue compared to their state revenue. And just lots of different scenarios as we look across the county in terms of the state funding. Like Bad River, for example, their levy failed in May, but they're getting a nice increase in their state funding, so they're not going back on the ballot in November, which is a good thing for them. Then if you look at this chart, Centerville and Oakwood, for example, they didn't, their dollar increases in this new state budget are pretty small, and that kind of ties in with them being on the ballot in November. So it's just interesting to follow all the districts across the county and where they are levy wise. And the good news for us is that it's 2016 was the last time we were on the ballot for new money, and we want to defer a new levy as long as we can, and it's just good that the state is in the best financial shape they've been in for I don't know how long, but it's just good to see that the state put a lot of money into K-12 public education, and so it's good news for us as we move forward.
All right, very good. That's always good. Good news. All right, so we don't have anyone from either one of our union groups with us, so I'll defer over to our central office staff. Mr. Berry, any comments tonight, sir?
Yeah.
Good old no. All right, Ms. Jones?
Well, I just want to thank Mr. White for all the prep work. Just want to thank Mr. White for all the prep work that you put into. I
I
apologize.
heard it ringing in my ears while you were speaking though also.
Oh, what? Wow.
You better pay for this.
You've been waiting all that time.
Say that.
There.
Well, yes, this just shows that that's the getting distracted. This is what happens, and I'm an adult, so you can imagine for kids what that does. No, I just want to say thank you for your deep dive and preparation, and I think that's going to really set the high school up for success. And you've got a real sharp focus on what you're about ready to tackle, and areas of improvement, and to strengthen those things that we do well. So I just want to say thank you for that. Yeah.
Really, you could say she kind of helped you with the presentation because she made the example for
It
you.
really was, yes. We talked about this before, and it was on cue there, so.
It's nice
Can you
to have
shut
a
your
problem.
Hulu off, please?
I will.
Jack?
Mr. Barry.
I did.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh,
Sorry, I will join the bandwagon here.
all right.
I do want to commend David. I've known David for about 15 years. We were principals together, and if he can do what I've seen him do in the past 15 years, I think the high school will be a better experience for many. I think we will see results, and I don't want to blow his head up any more than necessary, but I've seen him do the work that he discussed on the slides, and I believe it'll happen. So
Thank you.
good luck,
Appreciate it.
and we're here to back you on that.
Thank you.
All right, Jack?
Okay, yeah, a couple things real quick. One is we've got an asphalt and striping crew that'll be coming around here in the next week or so, starting some pothole work and some repairs around the schools. We'll also be striping a lot of the parking lot lines in the older buildings, middle school, high school student lot will be restriped, so will the new staff parking area, they'll be behind the locker rooms. With the construction, we're gonna have to move a lot of your staff parking out of that back driveway. So by doing that, we're gonna have to rearrange staff. But you and I will get together next week and maybe we can walk over there and take a look and talk about it a little bit on the changes there. Also here on this site, we're changing the configuration for traffic patterns here for this school. We're moving the buses from this back lot here, like where we're parked for this meeting tonight. They'll move out front. And we're gonna put parent drop-off back here. To do so, we're adding a spare drive lane in, so we're have construction starting on that. We'll be coming to you the next board meeting for approval of a resolution to approve that. But we're probably gonna start work before we get to that point, so we can be done and have it ready before the first day of school. Ryan and I are emailing back and forth with the attorney now to try to get the language straightened out for that. But we'll be putting right along where the parking lot is and the grass starts going out towards, over towards the church. We'll put a driveway in connecting this parking lot and the middle school driveway over there. So that way we can wrap cars around without blocking all the traffic in, which is one of the key issues we have right now with the traffic, is when the parents start lining up an hour or two before school dismisses, nobody can get out and we're all trapped. So by doing this, we're gonna eliminate some of those issues on that. But we've got it set up. They asked if they could bring equipment Monday. They asked me today because they finally said, hey, we can do it. We'll get you the price tomorrow, but if it's okay, can we bring equipment Monday so we can get started? So that way there's no delays, and that's what we're gonna work on. So besides that, construction-wise, everything else is going well. We had our interiors meeting last week. Went through some color schemes and some layouts and design for the interiors of the new buildings, and I think that everybody was kind of leaning the same directions for the most part, so I think that that's ready to move forward. We're meeting with the city next week here to talk about some permit stuff and make sure we're ready for the planning commission to go forward on that, and as long as we get their blessing and okay, then we're ready to start going full bore ahead. We're looking still groundbreakings, looking for October. And I think we're right on track for that.
very good. All right, so we will proceed with comments from the board, and we'll start with Nate.
All right, okay, so, of course, I want to start off with a few things. First thing is, be sure to vote August 8th. There's an election going on, if no one knew, there is an election. I always suggest people to vote, so please go vote, and at least do some research on it, and then vote, all that fun stuff. Also, about just Board of Election stuff anyways, August 9th is the petition deadline for people to run for school board. We have one person that has pooled petitions. That person has not filed them back yet, but hopefully she or he or whoever will. And then we need one more person to pool petitions at least. If not, I'd love to have like 20 people. That'd be kind of a crazy election, but just somebody. We don't want to have that open spot. We don't want to go through all that work. So it would be great to have someone that's passionate enough to be involved in this community, to make a difference in our schools, to come here and do their part. So that's two parts there. And then, also with the Yonder bags, there's no parents here. So I was kind of surprised. I thought somebody would want to talk about it still. But I've been reading a lot of articles on it. So I've been kind of getting excited about this whole program. And the one thing that I heard from like other people is do you know how many magnets we get with these bags?
As many as we
Because I think the one suggestion that a lot of teachers had in like some of these articles is that every teacher wants, at least in these other schools or whatever, would want their own magnets.
Mhm.
So they could, if there is
An
like an emergency, then they can get it.
We
Yeah.
we could do that.
Okay, great. There we go. Problem solved. So, and then I also kind of want to have a hands-on with the bag. If I'm voting to have all these things, it would be nice to actually touch one for once, and to see what it's like and kind of play with it. Yeah, I'm like,
Would you bring your sons? We don't have any here.
if you just bring me one next meeting, it's not like it's really gonna make a difference in my decision, but I would like to, with everything I buy, I usually like to look at it and try it out first, just to see if I personally,
Do not lock your phone in it. There are no magnets here to get them out.
I just realized that. Do you think your son can steal a magnet off of the water?
Oh, my. Put your presentation back up.
Actually, about the presentation though, incredible presentation. The worst in all situation that you were talking about is something that I really look for in leadership. Because most leaders have to go through the mud first, right, to be able to make it on the other side. And there's mud everywhere. There's at some point there's going to be problems. So I'm happy that, you have that leadership capability to say, look, there is problems here, and this is what we're going to do to help with those problems. So, that shows a lot for me on just the amount of leadership that you have and what you're going to do for our schools, and especially the high school. I am just so excited for that. Yeah,
You can't tell, I'm very excited.
And and for administrators, it's good to have the board to be supportive with that. So of course I can't speak for everybody else, but I am bought. You bought me. I'm fully in. So I'm just so excited to see what you're going to do for our schools. And then of course I mentioned it before. You have some? Okay. I mentioned it before. If you are a parent that's watching this, first of all, pool petitions. Second of all, because if they're watching this, that means they have to be interested, so they should pull petitions. But second of all, get involved. I really want to see more parent involvement. That's one thing that I really want to focus on as time goes on, is I want to see more parents that want to be a part of what goes on. And I want them to be excited for their kids' education, because I think a lot of them, they just kind of like, it's like free daycare. No, it's not that free, but it's daycare, and like, they just toss their kids over, they go to work, they go home, kids come home, they don't talk, and cycles over and over again. I want the parents to really see what's going on here, the amazing things that's about to happen in the next 4 years or so. And, I'm just, that's one thing I really want to focus on. And then, it's summer, so stay cool. There's a lot of people that's getting heat stroke, so let's not have that happen. That'd be cool. And then also, of course, the quote thing. I don't know who said this, but it kind of fits with like your presentation and like everything else going on. We may not have it all together, but together we have it all. So teamwork makes the dream work for sure. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Joe?
Just a couple things. One of the board positions that is coming open is mine. I will not be rerunning for board. So please, there's 2 positions that will be open. I was kind of hoping that Ms. Harvey was going to continue on her quest. Looks like there's a little bit of doubt there, but it's something that if you've got a second to take the time to be part of this, it's rewarding. It does make a difference, and it's always nice to have some new set of eyes on things. In saying that, Pirate Packs is also looking for board members and volunteers. Again, I will be stepping out of my position with them also. Actually, I stepped out a year ago.
But a big long step.
It's been a long step.
Step 2, yeah.
I have an ailing parent that is consuming a ton of time, and I just don't feel like I can manage all of this at one time. And I know many of you have gone through the same thing, so I'll be stepping out of that role also. But we're also looking for other volunteers to help with packing, to help with acquisitions, to help with the director's position, to help with just other board positions that we have. So please, if you get a chance, you have a minute, look into those and check us out. Mr. White, your presentation was great. I'm going to jump up on a soapbox for just a second. I've had a couple phone calls from parents saying, you're punishing the good kids for the few bad ones. Unfortunately, I've never heard of a rule or a law that was made for good people. It doesn't happen that way. I mean, that's the simplest of simple. If it was that simple, then it wouldn't be happening. If you go to work and you're getting judged by somebody who's not even in the district, which would be the state judging our district and giving us a grade, which some of you have, voiced your opinions about. You don't like the grade that we get from the state. Well, guess what? Part of it is going to be the distractions our teachers are under. Part of it is going to be the distractions that our kids are under. And we're being graded by somebody who's not even in our classrooms. So this is just another step to help us get to a point where we can help our kids get into a better position to better themselves when they leave us. I'm not speaking for the opinion of all the other board members, but myself, I support the Yonder Bags. It is a huge distraction across the board, and it's not only a distraction in the school district, but job sites are the same way. I'm in the trades. It is a dangerous situation. I've had to restrict my employees. They're on a table saw, the phone's ringing, they're trying to answer the phone and look at their phone while they're pushing lumber through a saw. I mean, let's just be straightforward here. You're going to start losing the fingers you need to use on that cell phone, so it's not worth it. And I turn around and the homeowner's wanting to know why this video is playing on the phone that's got obscene language. Again, now the phones need to stay in the work area. So it's happening on my job sites and it's happening in the district. It's just my opinion. But if we're going to support our staff, our teachers, our administration in raising our grade with the state, raising our grades with our kids, and getting them better prepared, then the Younger Bag is a huge step for that. That's all I've got for tonight. Thanks.
All right.
That was my soapbox.
Autumn?
I just want to commend Dave White for the presentation tonight. And I'm on board with the rest of the board to see the progress you make with our students. I know that we all appreciate the efforts you're making and the goals you're setting for the future. So thank you.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
That's it?
That's it.
All right, short and sweet. All right, again, I'll jump on that, Mr. White. I really like goals, and you had plenty of them in your presentation, and I really like seeing that. And my kid's out of the school now, so he's going to find out what kind of rules Liberty has for him. But there's going to be definite issues with some families and parents and students, because this is going to be drastic for some of them. But I think I want to be there the first couple of days just to see how the culture adapts to it and the structure and everything. But I really like like two things you mentioned specifically, one being the staff in the hallways between classes. I think phones, everything else that can happen is a distraction. Having a presence in the hallways with lockers and bathrooms, that's gonna be huge. And it won't take long for that to be huge, I don't think. But I really appreciate the effort and time you've already put into the plan, and I know you've done this before, I believe, in other places, so you've been through some of it, you know what works, what maybe doesn't work, or maybe doesn't always work, but really looking forward to even, you know, a few months into the school year, some of the things. I know we're gonna get some backlash, I know that, no matter what happens with bags or any of the other things you're changing, we may get some backlash from staff, for all I know, but I'm looking forward to that culture change. I don't know, as far as, one of the things I want to mention in the meeting that I really appreciate, and I think, correct me, Dr. Townsend, if I'm wrong, but I think our first meeting in here was last July. So it took a year, but I want to say something about the microphone in front of us, because in a year, we had to pass one. Well, for a few months, we didn't have that, I don't think, or had one microphone to pass, and if you watch these things or attended in the past, you'll notice we didn't have to do that tonight. Everyone here, including our side table, has a microphone, and I stumbled a bit because I thought Devin was going to get up and go to the podium. He didn't have to because there's a mic in front of him, so little adjustment there. But I really appreciate our tech team and the folks who got all this set up, and I don't think you could probably tell this unless you're here in person, unless Ms. Moore wants to correct me, but there's actually monitors in front and behind us that also are displayed in here, so when Mr. White did his presentation, it's actually visible in 3 places in this room. So for those who may come in the future, that was pretty cool too. I think I turned and looked behind. It isn't easy to see that one, but I really appreciate the technology finally being something we finally had show up. We have mics for everybody, and it'll make it easier to hear when you're watching these, both in person and on video. So really appreciate that. And I do think I will piggyback off Nate for a second. I'm a little surprised too that the room is empty. I think one of the reasons that we're voting in August, besides the fact all of us aren't here, that's the main reason, but is the fact this gave more time for feedback. And so an empty room, I don't think this room will be empty in August probably, but a little surprised by that too. I think regardless of how this vote goes, whether it's a split vote or unanimous, I'm surprised that there's not people here to voice their opinion. So with that being said, we are going to have executive session tonight for the purpose of employment. And I think for this, we actually do adjourn this part of the meeting, and then we won't be voting after executive session, so we'll be done for the night after that. But we do vote to go into executive session, and I think we vote to adjourn our business meeting. So we'll do a motion and a second to go into executive session, and then we'll do a vote to adjourn the meeting. So I need a motion and a second for executive session.
A motion. Second.
All right, Mr. Sloan, call the roll, please.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Llewellyn?
Yes.
Mr. Mundy?
Yes.
All right, and then I need a motion and a second to adjourn.
You don't do adjourn.
You'll do that like at the end of the executive session? Okay.
You go back into public session.
All right, so our meeting for the moment is adjourned, this part at least. We'll go into executive session and we'll finish for the night. Thanks for coming.